When I regained consciousness in the hospital, the first face I saw was hers, my unfaithful wife. She approached my bedside and softly said, "Honey, I'm so sorry you had to witness that, but I just couldn't live with the secret anymore." I blinked up at the ceiling, the harsh white lights and the biting scent of disinfectant making everything feel even more surreal. My skull throbbed with a relentless ache, as though my thoughts were trying to force their way out. I tried to shift, to sit up, but my limbs felt like lead, slow, unwilling. The last clear image in my memory was a searing pain in my chest, like my heart had been physically torn apart. And then her, Sophia, standing in front of me. But she wasn't alone. There had been someone else in that room with her. A presence. A figure. I couldn't place him immediately, but the shadow of his face haunted me. Now, fully awake, I saw Sophia again. She was seated close, her fingers wrapped delicately around mine. Her face bore a deep expression of worry, her eyes red and puffy from what looked like crying. For a fleeting moment, I almost bought into it, her gentle demeanor, the soft tone of her voice as she tried to comfort me. Almost. Then she broke the silence. "Sweetheart," she murmured, voice shaky, "I never meant for you to find out like that. I should have hidden it better. I'm sorry you had to see it." I stared at her, unable to respond. The words didn't fit the woman I thought I knew. I wanted desperately to believe her, to fall back into the illusion we'd lived in. But the memory wouldn't loosen its grip, it twisted inside me like a jagged knife. I remembered exactly what I had seen. Sophia and I had been married for a decade. We shared a stylish apartment in Berlin, the kind of life that inspired envy in others. I worked as a financial analyst, thriving in the fast-paced world of investments. She was climbing the ladder in the luxury hospitality industry, a field she'd broken into with relentless drive. To everyone around us, we were the picture-perfect couple. But appearances hide so much. Lately, something had shifted. Sophia was withdrawn, often lost in thought, her focus always elsewhere. I convinced myself it was stress, the pressure of rising through the ranks at her hotel. I admired her ambition. But when she came home, something about her seemed gone. Her eyes didn't sparkle the way they used to. Her laughter was hollow, like an echo of who she'd once been. Looking back, the clues were everywhere. The nights she came home late. The half-empty wine bottle I'd find on the counter. The way she'd glance at her phone and then quickly flip it face down whenever I entered the room. Still, I brushed it off. I trusted her. I believed we were happy. That illusion shattered the night I came home early. Work had ended abruptly, and I left the office with a strange unease I couldn't quite place. When I walked into our apartment, something felt wrong. Sophia's coat wasn't hanging by the door. Her purse was missing. And then I heard it, the faint murmur of voices coming from the bedroom. Every instinct told me to walk away, to respect her space. But something deeper pulled me forward, a silent force leading me to the truth. I opened the door slightly, just enough to look inside. What I saw will never leave me. Sophia was on our bed. Her clothes were scattered across the floor. She wasn't alone. The man beside her had his back turned, but I recognized him immediately. Matthias, a co-worker of hers from the hotel. I'd seen him at a few social events. He was always overly friendly with her, always hovering just a bit too close. I told myself it was harmless. But now, watching them together, I knew better. Sophia's eyes were shut, her breathing shallow as she kissed him. The intimacy between them wasn't just physical, it was something deeper. There was a familiarity, a closeness, that I had never shared with her. That cut deeper than anything. Time seemed to freeze. My heart pounded in my chest, drowning out every other sound. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I was trapped, forced to watch as the life I thought I knew unraveled before me. And then, darkness. When I awoke in the hospital, everything felt dreamlike. My body was numb, my mind detached from reality. Sophia's words, her apology, rang hollow. They didn't make sense. How could they? I don't know how long I lay there, silent, spiraling in a storm of thoughts. The bedroom scene kept replaying in my mind, refusing to fade. I couldn't forget the look in her eyes, or the way Matthias touched her. His face was seared into my memory. Sophia stayed by my side, patiently waiting for me to speak. But I couldn't. Every time I looked at her, I saw them. Their bodies. Their pleasure. The betrayal. I had given my heart to the one person I believed would cherish it forever, only to watch her tear it apart and stomp on the pieces without a second thought. And what cut deepest wasn't just the betrayal itself, it was the way she looked at me, as if she truly believed I'd just forgive her and move on. "You don't owe me an explanation," I finally said, my voice icy and void of emotion. "I already know everything." Before we continue, take a breath. This story runs deep, and the emotions are raw. If you're invested in this journey of heartbreak, revelation, and healing, don't miss out on the rest. Subscribe to Lauren's story for more chapters of this emotional ride. Now, let's return to the moment where everything changed. Sophia winced at my words. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she leaned in, desperation dripping from her voice. "Please, sweetheart, I never meant for things to get this far. It was a mistake. I didn't plan for this to happen." I wanted to explode, to throw something across the room, to make her feel even a fraction of the pain tearing through my chest. But I didn't. I stayed still, my gaze locked on her. "A mistake," I repeated, the words tight and bitter on my tongue. Do you have any idea how much time it takes to ruin a marriage? How much effort it takes to break something that was once beautiful? And yet, as I lay in that cold hospital bed while she stumbled through apologies, something inside me shifted. I waited for rage to rise in me, but it didn't. What came instead was stillness, a sharp clarity I hadn't known in years. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't pity myself. What I felt was free. Free from the facade I had called love. Free from the lies I'd tried so hard to ignore. Free from the illusion that our relationship had been mutual. And then it clicked, what I needed to do. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't hurl accusations. That wasn't who I was. No, I would handle this my way, cleverly, quietly, and with purpose. This wasn't just about Matthias. It was about everything we had built, everything she had so carelessly destroyed. And I wasn't about to let her walk away unscathed. In the days that followed, I played the role she expected, the broken man, shattered and helpless. I let her believe I was struggling to process it all, unsure of what to do next. I nodded at her sob stories, offered empty looks at her tears. She thought I was weakening. But behind that mask, I was already setting things in motion. The first step was contacting Matthias's wife, a woman like me, caught in the wreckage of someone else's deceit. I told her everything. I spared no detail. The messages, the hotel rendezvous, the lies. I didn't hold back. She deserved to know. Next, I turned my attention to Sophia's professional life. Quietly, methodically, I planted seeds where they needed to be sown. I spoke to the right people at her workplace, her colleagues, her superiors. I didn't accuse her directly, but I made sure the right whispers reached the right ears. About her questionable shortcuts. The favors exchanged for promotions. The manipulations behind her rise. And then, when the foundation of her life was already cracking, I made the final move. I filed for divorce. I took the apartment, the savings, everything we had worked for. But none of it was about material gain. What I really wanted was control. Her cries, her pleas, they meant nothing now. The court's decision was final. She was left with nothing. No partner. No career. no reputation. And as I watched the perfect life she had tried to preserve crumble into dust, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt empty. But within that emptiness was something new: freedom. It wasn't revenge in the traditional sense. I hadn't screamed or broken anything. I had simply reclaimed my power. And that's when I understood something profound. Real revenge isn't about what you take from someone else. It's about reclaiming yourself, your voice, your dignity, your peace. As I walked away from the ruins of the life I once thought was everything, a familiar phrase came to mind. The best revenge is living well. Thank you for walking through this story with me. If this chapter moved you, give it a like and consider subscribing to Lauren's story. So many of you enjoy these journeys but haven't subscribed yet. By joining, you're becoming part of a community that values deep, emotional storytelling. And remember to hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next.